More thunderstorms meant even more flooding in central Texas today as the death toll from storms over the last week rose to 27. Torrential downpours dumped as much as 7 inches of rain in the Dallas-Fort Worth area overnight. Drivers were stranded for hours as water covered highways and submerged cars. Rescue crews responded to more than 250 calls for help. For more on this, Srinivasan spoke earlier with Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, who recently toured the hard-hit community of Wimberley.
Lieutenant Governor, you've had a chance over the past 24 hours to see some of the devastation on the ground and from the air. Describe it to some folks in the rest of the country who might just be seeing these images for the first time.
You know, Hari, we've been in legislative session for the last 5 months, so yesterday was the first day I was able to get down to the Wimberley area. And the pictures do not describe it. I want to give you this example. I was standing in front of a cliff that was about 40 feet high. That would be equivalent to a 3 to 4 story building. The water is normally 3 foot deep. When that flood water hit those homes, that water was as high as 48 feet. It took out homes on top of 40-foot cliffs. It's unimaginable. Trees down everywhere, down the entire river, trees that had stood for 600 years, hundreds of homes, and most importantly, the loss of life, 12 missing or lost. One body was found 34 miles downstream. If you can imagine, the one home that was taken down, Hari, where we lost 8 people, they are still missing. A few bodies have been recovered. It was on stilts, about 30 feet high, and the water just rushed down like a tsunami. A 48-foot wall of water after dark on Saturday night in an area that has had flooding, but nothing even close to this in the past.
Now, given the disaster, the images that we've seen on TV, is this a federal disaster area? Does the state of Texas need help? We do. We've already declared, Governor Abbott has declared 70 counties as disaster counties just since the beginning of May. We've had so much flooding. And you know, this flooding, the focus has been on this beautiful town of Wimberley. For people around the rest of the country, this is just a beautiful little area of antique stores and retirement places and vacation places. But it's also known as Flood Alley because it does flood, but normally 3 feet to maybe 12 feet. The highest was maybe 20 feet. So again, this was at 48 feet at one point. Yes, I think we do need federal help. The state is stepping in, but it's going to be millions and millions of dollars to reclaim the river and clean up the river. Hundreds of homes have been destroyed. We're going to need help on this catastrophe. If you looked at it, Hari, you would say it must have been a tornado or a hurricane, but it was literally a river tsunami that hit these people out of nowhere. We had, you know, a lot of rain falling upstream that came down, and the good news is hundreds of lives were saved because warning did go out to a number of people down in camps. About 150 people evacuated very close to before the water hit. The Department of Public Safety, along with the military, rescued a couple of dozen from the air, and the local on-ground fire chief and his team rescued about 115 people from rooftops hanging onto satellite dishes. It's a tragedy that we lost 12. It could have been hundreds. Finally, Lieutenant Governor, I just want to ask, the weather forecast is not on your side, and there are still rivers above flood stage. It could be worse in parts of your state over the next few days.
It could be. My home is in the Houston area, and I've been there since '79. I've seen a lot of flooding. I've never seen it as bad in Houston as it was either over the last couple of days. Dallas was hit hard. Here in our state capital of Austin, buildings that have never flooded out. San Antonio's been hit hard, and San Marcos has been hit hard south of Austin. This is the worst flooding maybe in total that anyone can ever remember. And when you get 10 to 15 inches of rain over a few hours, small creek beds suddenly become rivers, and rivers become tsunamis. And that's what happened, and the rain continues to pour, and we're watching it very closely and praying.
All right, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick of Texas, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Kansas Governor Sam Brownback also warned residents of his state to be prepared for high waters, noting that many of the reservoirs are already at flood stage.